Growing rainforest seedlings requires stages. First, we grow from seed in this tunnel over here. This is the first stage. But also in the first stage, we collect seedlings from the ground. These we call wildlings. They have sprouted by themselves. They must be cared for with very wet and humid conditions. They are grown in here. This is a very humid environment, like the tropical rainforest. Either type, either from seed or from wildlings, must then become stronger, hardened off a bit more. They go into the shade house here, where they will spend between 1 and 3 months becoming a bit more woody and used to less water and natural light with the UV radiation of the sun. Finally, they will go outside in the full sun. They will get very little water and become hard before we plant them, so they are stronger and have a higher rate of survival. This is the seedling house. First in here, we must identify for each species the specific way to grow them. These ones here are Davidson plum. This is a native fruit that is also edible by humans and has many uses. They have been grown from seed and are just weeks old since they sprouted. Behind them is one of the pioneer rainforest trees, the red kamala. These will die if they are planted too soon, so we grow them very large before we pot them on. Germination is a very delicate process. The nursery must constantly be checked. Here we have some that have germinated just a few days ago. This we call the cheese tree because its fruits look like cheeses. And then also behind we have grevillea. These are also just sprouted in the last week. Some seedlings will require this white material you see in the boxes. This is called perlite. It's to allow the water to travel through instead of logging the soil with water. You also notice we have these cages over the top of the trays. This is because there are many native species of rodents that will eat the seeds if we don't protect them. So until they germinate, we must protect them all like this. We are now in the misting house. This is very specific for wildlings that have been collected from the creeks and from areas where they are very abundant and potted up in the nursery. To make sure they survive, it needs to be very humid, and you might see in here it is misty. This is misting water every hour, and this is to keep the leaves permanently wet. We call this artificial softening. This environment encourages the plants to grow faster than they normally would. Also in here you will see this species, this is the flame tree, is already being chewed on by insects. For this species it is normal, and they will still grow very fast in these conditions. Here at ReforestNow, we like to focus on endangered species. It is a speciality of ours. These here, these small plants, these are the host vine for the Richmond birdwing butterfly. It is one of the largest and most beautiful and incredible species of butterfly in Australia. This vine is very slow growing. It might take a year before we can plant it, much longer than everything else. Therefore, we need the encouraging conditions of the humidity and the constant water to make them feel safe to grow fast. The mist that keeps this environment very humid is provided by these misting systems here. The water that comes from these is extremely fine. Whether plants have come from the seed house or the wildling house, they must, after a few months, come out here into the shade house. Here they will receive less water and be exposed to some sunlight through the shade cloth. In this tunnel, there is over 60 species of rainforest trees growing that will be used in our restoration projects in the Byron Shire. The plants in the shade house must spend a few months here before being moved out. At this time, there are about 8,000 in here of 60 odd species that are developing and being ready to go outside. Even so, these that you see here that look quite big, they are still only a few months old. After spending a few months in the shade house, plants must be hardened in the full sun with very little water before they can go out to planting sites. Here, we strengthen them up for several weeks in the full sun. You will notice the plants here are still very green, but now they also have under the green a sort of yellow color. This is their sunblock. It is a beta-carotene, and this will help to protect them from the sun when they go to planting. Here we are building our 4th tunnel. It will also be like the wildling house, hot and humid, and to accelerate growth. This will quadruple our ability to produce trees because currently this is a bottleneck that limits our production. The tunnel here will be 200 square meters in size and at any one time will hold 20,000 trees. We can expect in 1 year at least 40,000 trees to pass through this tunnel when it is built in a few weeks' time. Working with For Amazonia, we are also planning to build a 5th tunnel like this and even bigger. That will hold at least 30,000 trees at a time, and we would hope that we can move through that at least twice a year and produce at least 60,000 trees a year with a tunnel for Amazonia. We'd love to have more people involved and more support from around the world for our work. Many of our donors are in Spain and Germany and from places that we would never have expected. Please get behind what we're doing and help us to restore the Australian rainforest.